All right, they say April showers brings May flowers. That has never rang as true as it does today, as I have been dodging raindrops trying to get this recorded. I'm at the point now where if it starts raining, I may just keep recording. The show must go on, you know what I mean? What I'm gonna be talking about, showcasing to y'all today are some staples in my collection. These are quintessential scent DNAs that I reach for every single spring. They are all worthy of, at the very least, getting your nose on. Niche fragrances are a little bit more pricey, but I do think I have a little bit of everything for everyone. Nonetheless, I am not here to waste anybody's time, seeing as we have quite a bit to get through today. Let's go ahead and get into it. So yeah, no honorable mentions, right into the nitty gritty as always. This first one here is the epitome of a gentleman's fragrance, and it smells quite literally like it was tailor-made for spring weather. This first one here comes from the house of Creed. This one goes by the name of Green Irish Tweed. All right, so in a nutshell, Green Irish Tweed is a more sophisticated version of Davidoff's Cool Water. Now, for those of y'all that enjoy a bit of lore, Cool Water was my grandfather's signature scent, so it was therefore, and by proxy, the first cologne I ever smelt in my entire life. So I was a shoo-in to enjoy this type of DNA. Now, as always, I'll give y'all a couple sprays and let y'all know what I smell. Creed has always had a fire hydrant for an atomizer. The feeling this fragrance evokes is that of the Irish countryside. In terms of how it smells, it's not your typical citrus freshie. Up top, you are going to get a lemony but also herbal green freshness, ozonic violet, and that's where that watery aquatic vibe comes from. And then in the base, very unique to Creed, the base is going to be comprised of ambergris, and it is multifaceted. In all honesty, it smells at the same time and simultaneously warm, salty, and sort of creamy. Now, don't get me started on, you know, where ambergris comes from. That's a story for another day. The main takeaway is that this is quite literally signature scent worthy, y'all. Now, with gas prices being where they're at, and me by no means being a niche snob, I can't sit here and recommend that y'all blind buy any of these fragrances. Hell, Armaf Trainouet hold me down for many, many years. It wasn't until quite recently that I actually picked up a bottle of Green Irish Tweed. But at the same time, I'm not gonna sit here and say that those are one-to-one. At the end of the day, Green Irish Tweed is far superior, and I do recommend it. If you were to just pick up one fragrance today out of anything that I talk about, it would be Green Irish Tweed. So it deserved to be at the #1 spot. Again, from the house of Creed, at the #1 spot, we have Green Irish Tweed. All right, so moving on to fragrance number 2. This is one that my wife purchased for me right about a year ago, and I'm incredibly glad she did because it remains to be one of my favorite scent profiles in my entire collection, regardless of season. Moving on to the house of Goldfield and Banks, we are talking about Ingenious Ginger. All right, so again, streamlining this, in terms of a reference point, base point, if you've never smelled Ingenious Ginger, I want to kind of throw 2 fragrances out there to y'all. Not that they smell one-to-one, but it will give you an excellent reference point. So imagine the citruses in Bulgari Tiger, or in my case, Afnan Tarathi Blue, mixed with, infused with the creamy facets that you would anticipate in Chanel Allure Homme Edition Blanche. So imagine as if these 2 fragrances had a love child. That's kind of the direction that Ingenious Ginger goes. I'm gonna spray this one a couple times as well. Not the cheapest fragrance. I think you're gonna spend right around $250 for this one. All right, so this one is a feel-good fragrance with a sunny disposition. As you know, the rain starts to dissipate and the sun is shining on me, this is when you're gonna wear this fragrance. That's what it feels like, y'all. Now, a fragrance called Ingenious Ginger. You would anticipate there to be some ginger. It's lively, energetic. Fizzy gives it a pop of life. Through the mid, you're gonna get white floral freshness with a slight lemony tinge. And then you're gonna get this combination of both vanilla and warm amber woods in the base. It's a perfect fragrance for those transitional seasons. I'm gonna rock this one during spring, and I'm gonna rock this one again the sunnier days of fall before it gets too dark and drab outside. Again, not the cheapest fragrance in the world. I would recommend test driving before you buy. It's not going to be for everybody, but I absolutely love it. Definitely one worth getting your nose on. It's a staple in my collection. At the number 2 spot, again, from Goldfield and Banks, we have Ingenious Ginger. All right, so anybody that has been subscribed to my channel for any fair amount of time, y'all are already well aware how much I enjoy the House of Zaharoff. That is effectively the direction we're going with this next one. Fragrance number 3 goes by the name of Signature Citrine. All right, the dent does not lie, y'all. The dent does not lie. I have not decanted any of this out to anybody. This is a fragrance that I am very well acquainted with. I have about 8 Zaharoffs at this point, and I will go on record to say this is easily my most worn Zaharoff. I live in Texas. The weather is hot most of the year, so that also makes sense. Now, I'll give you a spray on this one as well. Although this is a fragrance I am very well acquainted with. I didn't even need to spray it to tell y'all what this smelled like. Beautiful fragrance. Now imagine the Italian style cologne, modernized, very thoughtfully executed, and it fits perfectly in the Signature line, to be fair. This is going to open up with an amalgamation of citruses with strong emphasis on tangerine. Fruity envelops the fragrance overall. As it moves through and into the mid, you're gonna get fig, but it's the leafy portion of the fig, not the pulp or the fruit itself. It's a green aspect which fits it, having a green cap. And then we're gonna, go down a gear as it relates to the base notes, because this is where the magic happens. It's thoughtfully executed. Genius in my opinion. So the base of Signature Citrine, it shares and is anchored by the original OG, the Signature Pour Homme. You just strip off all the top notes, all the middle notes, but the base, the ambery base, is what you get in Signature Citrine. So imagine the olibanum and the sticky myrrh. That's what sets this apart from just being your standard citrus aromatic. Citrus notes are volatile, but what this one does is it has those, citrus notes that, will dissipate over time, and you're left with that ambery, resinous, sticky myrrh base that the Signature line is known and synonymous with. It's a beautiful fragrance with some staying power, not a screamer. What I would say about this fragrance is that it's very charming, y'all. One of my most worn Zaharoffs, driving it all home. It's definitely one that I would recommend. At the very least, you get your nose on. Definitely worth exploring the world of Zaharoff, in my opinion. At the number 3 spot, we have Signature Citrine. All right, so one of the first fragrances I ever featured on my channel was Banana Republic's Vintage Green 78. It's a fragrance that I fell in love with almost immediately, and it just further solidified and confirmed my love for green fragrances. Now, to tie this back to Zaharoff full circle, Nico Percantino is the nose and the perfumer behind Vintage Green 78. That's relevant because he's also the same perfumer that made Curly Scents, the Siren, y'all. So he knows how to make a fragrance. Now, how is that relevant? I just went down a rabbit hole, but how is that relevant? People are asking. That is because tons of people were telling me, hey, Mike, if you enjoy Vintage Green 78, you're gonna like this one, and they were not lying. We are going to be diving into the house of Nishane. This one goes by the name of Wulong Chop. All right, so disclaimer alert. If you are the type of guy that requires your fragrances to be uber masculine, this one is not going to be for you, as this one leans perfectly unisex. What I will say as a caveat though, that this fragrance was designed to appeal to both men and women alike. So if you're confident enough to pull this one off, this has a strong potential to draw in positive attention. Now, this one has a very bright disposition and demeanor about itself. This one's gonna open up with an effervescent amalgamation of rindy citrus. The two citruses I'm smelling are going to be lemon and to a lesser degree orange. As it starts to develop, earthy, bitter tea notes start to emerge, just slightly spiced. And then in the base, what you're gonna get are heavy doses of musks and then fig, but not the leaf, it's the fruity portion of it. It just gives you, this fruity undertone, not a heavily wooded fragrance, y'all. Surprisingly great performance and great projection on this fragrance for being, not a heavily wooded fragrance. It's definitely one that has garnered me positive attention in the past. I would say the juice is worth the squeeze. Niche Honey fragrances are not that expensive, y'all. There's a reason why so many people talk about Niche Honey Oolong Cha. It is worth the hype, in my honest opinion. Definitely worth checking out at the number 4 spot today. Again, from Niche Honey, we have Oolong Cha. Bro, what did I say? The sun was out, now it's dark. I'm about to get rained on. The show must go on. I have 2 more here, y'all. When spring is in full swing, you're gonna wanna rock a green. This one is undoubtedly green, so much so it's literally in the name. Diving into the house of Parfums de Marly, this one goes by the name of Greenly. All right, so despite this being a niche fragrance, it has a ton of utility. And by that, I mean it can be worn in a whole host of scenarios. Again, providing you a reference point, a base point, not that it's a one-to-one, but just so that you can kind of gauge as to what this might remind you of. It reminds me of a couple different fragrances. That is going to be Coach Green as well as Dior Sauvage. And that's why I say this fragrance has a ton of utility. Niche snobs are going to say it's not unique enough. People that enjoy mass appealing scents are going to be inclined to like Greenly. Now I'll give you a spray or two of Greenly as well. Me personally, I love green fragrances, so I was a shoo-in to love Greenly. Yeah, in terms of the vibe, it's masculine, upscale, and fresh, y'all. Very, very versatile. Having stated that, even with it being a Swiss Army knife, this is one that is going to be heavily geared towards the warmer months of the year. Now, in the opening, you're gonna get this contrast of 2 things. They work very well. It's citrusy, fresh notes playing off heart, kind of sweet green apple note. Both of those notes in conglomeration with one another, you're gonna get mossy woods throughout the mid, and then a heavy dose of ISO E Super expressing itself as cashmerean in the base. And that's why I say this fragrance, Greenly, does remind me of Sauvage a little bit, y'all, because ISO E Super and Broxton, they act very similarly. Now, this is a fragrance that is going to offend people. It's going to fill a room up. You're gonna pay niche prices, 120 to 150 for Greenly, but just know 8 to 10 sprays. If you spray your clothes, you're gonna smell it on your clothes the very next day. So it's very hard to gauge performance on this one. And this is not one that I would overspray because it's the type of fragrance, although you could wear it to the office, you're very likely to choke a room out, and people that don't really enjoy fragrances, they're gonna start sneezing. So definitely, go a little bit lighter on the trigger on this one, but it is a quintessential staple in my collection. I wear it every single spring. Definitely one I would recommend you check out at the number 5 spot today. Again, from the house of Parfums de Marly, we have Greenly. All right, guys, so last but not least, and if you are still watching, big salute. I really do appreciate it. If you did make it this far, please do consider subscribing. It's literally free. It doesn't cost you anything. I would certainly appreciate it. This last one here is one of the more popular niche fragrances, and that is because the price of entry is very low. Not only that, it's not super challenging. So a lot of people consider it one of the best niche fragrances to get if you're looking to dip your toe into niche. We are going to be diving into the house of Mancera. This one goes by the name of Cedrat Boise. All right, so there's this, overarching thread of conversation that Cedrat Boise smells like Aventus. Listen, y'all, it does not smell like Aventus. If anything, it has more differences than Aventus than it does. But it hints at the DNA, but it definitely goes in its own direction. I'm not gonna spray this one as my atomizer is a bit janky. I'm super familiar with the scent profile. Now this one leans masculine. When it opens up, it's gonna have an amalgamation of citruses as well. Lemony, citrus, spice, fruity undertones throughout the mid. And then in the base, I do believe there's some moss, there's black currant. That's the only part that's kind of challenging, is the black currant. But again, this is not a challenging scent profile. Again, the price of entry on this one is not that high. It's definitely one that I would recommend you check out. Last but not least, at the number 6 spot, a staple in my collection for spring, we have Cedroit Boise. All right, guys, that's pretty much a wrap for me. I need to get the hell on out of here. It is quite literally sprinkling on me as we speak, which is a crazy transition because it was sunny when I first started this video. At the end of the day, those are 6 quintessential staple spring fragrances that at the very least you should get your nose on. I really do love and appreciate all the support. I know I don't upload the most content, but one thing you will always get from me is honest, authentic, and unbiased opinions. That will never change. Again, I love and appreciate all the support. Until next time, y'all. All right?